If you weren't a Star Wars fan in 2002, it's hard to explain just how big Attack of the Clones felt. Today, Star Wars is everywhere. We have Disney Plus, social media, YouTube channels, yours truly included, and new shows almost every year. Back then, it was different. We waited 3 years between movies. There was no TikTok, no Instagram, no endless stream of Star Wars content. We got our news from magazines, toy aisles, TV commercials, and the official StarWars.com website. And when Attack of the Clones did arrive in 2002, it felt like Star Wars was about to enter a completely new era. We got clone troopers, we got Jango Fett, we got Republic gunships, we got Jedi starfighters, and for the first time, we were finally seeing the beginning of the Clone Wars that Obi-Wan talked about all the way back in A New Hope. For this Star Wars nerd, that was huge. And looking back, I think Attack of the Clones was peak Star Wars hype. And if you were there in 2002, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For me, the biggest thing Attack of the Clones introduced was the clone troopers. Before 2002, stormtroopers were cool, but clone troopers, they felt different. They had names, they had personalities, they fought alongside the Jedi. And when the clone army was revealed on Kamino for the first time, it felt like the Star Wars galaxy had suddenly become much bigger than it had been in the past. Then come the Battle of Geonosis. Hundreds of clone troopers fighting, Republic gunships flying across the battlefield, Jedi fighting alongside an army for the first time. As a kid, this was some of the coolest Star Wars imagery I had ever seen. And it wasn't just the movie. The toys were everywhere. The Lego sets were everywhere. Every store seemed to have clone troopers, Republic gunships, and Attack of the Clones merchandise. It felt like the beginning of something huge in the Star Wars galaxy. And we have to talk about Jango Fett. Today, people think a lot about Boba Fett, but in 2002, Jango Fett was one of the coolest characters in Star Wars and was the OG Boba Fett's father. He had the armor, he had the dual blasters, and he had, more importantly, the Slave One. I'm not calling it Jango Fett's Starfighter. That's dumb. The Starfighter is named Slave One. He fought Obi-Wan Kenobi on Kamino. We're talking like hand-to-hand combat. This guy's pulling out guns, blasting at a Jedi, and he was the template for the entire clone army. As a kid, that reveal was mind-blowing. The clone troopers weren't just random soldiers. They were all based on Jango Fett. That immediately made him one of the most important characters in the movie. And if you walked into a toy aisle in 2002, you saw Jango Fett everywhere. We're talking action figures, vehicles, and Lego sets. He became one of the faces of the Attack of the Clones era. And then there were the Geonosian arena creatures. As a kid, these things were awesome. The Acklay, the Reek, the Nexu. Before the clone army arrived, these creatures felt absolutely massive on screen. The arena battle was one of the biggest action sequences we'd ever seen in Star Wars. You had Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme fighting for survival, while these giant creatures were unleashed into the arena. And what I love looking back on now is how much merchandise came from that scene. Hasbro made action figures, there were creatures to collect, and years later, they're still some of my favorite pieces from the Attack of the Clones era. In fact, that's one of the reasons I'm starting a new collection challenge series on this channel. The idea is to build the ultimate collection for different Star Wars planets and battles. So for Geonosis, that might mean tracking down things like the Acklay figure, the Reek, Lego vehicles, clone troopers, and other collectibles connected to that battle. Because for me, collecting has always been about recreating the worlds and moments that made Star Wars feel special that George Lucas had in his original vision for Star Wars. And Geonosis was one of those places that felt larger than life when Attack of the Clones first released. What really made the Attack of the Clones era special wasn't just the movie. It was everything around it. You'd walk into Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, or I'm this old, even Kmart, and you'd see Star Wars everywhere. there were clone troopers, you had Republic gunships, Jango Fett figures, and a little toy company known as Lego. You'd have the arena creatures from Hasbro. Everything was just everywhere for the media and marketing. It felt like it was an event, like every week there was something new to discover. And because we didn't have TikTok and social media, Instagram, a lot of the excitement came from actually finding things in store physical. You couldn't just watch an unboxing video on YouTube as much as I enjoy them. You'd had to go out and hunt for it yourself. Looking back, I think that's one reason why so many Star Wars fans, yours truly included, still love collecting today. A lot of us grew up during this era hunting for the next figure, the next Lego set, or the next piece of the galaxy to add to our collections. Looking back, Attack of the Clones wasn't just another Star Wars movie. It was the beginning of something. The Clone Wars had finally started. We knew Anakin's story wasn't over. We knew that there was another movie coming that would tie everything together. And for Star Wars fans, it felt like the galaxy was getting bigger every day. Maybe Attack of the Clones isn't everyone's favorite Star Wars movie. Maybe it isn't even the best prequel to anybody. But if you were there in 2002, you remember the excitement. You remember the clone troopers. You remember the Republic gunships. You remember Jango Fett. You remember checking StarWars.com for the updates. And you remember feeling like the best was still ahead. Because for Star Wars fans, 2002 really was different. Looking back, Attack of the Clones wasn't just a movie for me. It was the beginning of an era filled with clone troopers, Republic gunships, Jango Fett, Jedis, Lego sets, action figures, some of the coolest battles in Star Wars history. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but if you were there in 2002, you remember how exciting it felt. You remember checking StarWars.com for updates. You remember seeing the toys on store shelves. And you remember wondering what would happen next in the franchise because the Clone Wars had only just begun. And in my next video, we're going to talk about what came after Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars micro series, Battlefront 2, Republic Commando, and why the years between episodes 2 and 3 might have been the greatest time ever to be a Star Wars fan. Until then, may the Force be with you.